Overthinking keeps us dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. It increases stress and often contributes to insomnia, difficulty concentrating, and completing productive work. Overthinking can also erode our self esteem. It reinforces our overly negative perception of ourselves, magnify our mistakes, and discount our positive attributes and the progress we've made. Many of my clients get increasingly frustrated with themselves because they cannot stop overthinking. This leads to a cycle of self blame and criticism that compounds their anxiety. Why do we overthink then? Unconsciously, anxiety tries to keep us safe from all sorts of painful experiences like criticism, rejection, failure, illness, and so on. On some level, we equate worry with problem solving, but we often worry or overthink about problems that we cannot solve, other people's problems, or things that have already happened. And focusing on everything that can go wrong does not help us avoiding negative outcomes. Instead, it just reinforces our fears and makes us more anxious. Overthinking has also roots in perfectionism. It's often the result of having unrealistically high standards for ourselves, so we cannot tolerate making a mistake and we assume the consequences are worse than they really are. As a result, we can't bounce back or let it go. Instead, we obsess about it and criticize ourselves. Perfectionists also tend to have a rigid all or none thinking, a thinking pattern where we believe that there's only one right decision or way to do things. The result is that we put tremendous pressure on ourselves to do the right thing or make the right choice. Overthinking can be a hard habit to break. However, with some awareness and willingness to change some of your behaviors and thoughts, you can reduce or stop overthinking or worrying. And now I'll share 9 of my favorite strategies to end overthinking. First is name it to tame it. The first thing that I'd suggest you to do when you're overthinking is to name it. Simply acknowledging that you're overthinking, feeling anxious or worried can help interrupt the cycle. And this acknowledgement is also your cue to try some other strategies. Second is write down your worries. If you're stuck in an overthinking loop, I recommend writing down your worries. Putting them down on a paper creates a holding place for them, so you do not have to keep them all in your head. Writing also brings clarity and helps with problem solving. Third is to allow yourself a set amount of time to worry. If you're frequently distracted by worry throughout the day, choosing a prescribed time to worry can be helpful. The goal here is to allow yourself time to think about and have feelings about whatever is on your mind. But do not let it take over your entire day. Set a timer, and when the prescribed amount of time, say about 15 to 10 minutes, is up, it's time to go back to the normal activities. Fourth is to accept your fears. Instead of trying to push away anxiety, try to accept it and acknowledge what it's trying to tell you. Sometimes it even helps to thank your anxiety and let it know that you're okay. Fifth is self compassion. I also encourage my clients to replace self criticism with self compassion. This can simply take the form of saying something kind to yourself when you're feeling stressed, or like you made a mistake. By responding with self compassion, you can retrain your thinking pattern and realize that you're deserving of compassion and forgiveness, especially when you make mistakes. Sixth is to avoid internet and social media. I know it's tempting to look for information online to calm your worries and help you make decisions, but this is rarely helpful. If you're prone to overthinking, the internet is more likely to feed your worries and leave you feeling more overwhelmed and uncertain. So resist the urge to do these things online, like self diagnosing. Using the internet to try to figure out what's wrong with you or a loved one is probably inaccurate, making you think that you have an ailment when you don't, or giving you a false sense of security if you conclude you're not sick when you really are. Researching, reading product, services, reviews, or other forms of online information gathered can lead to information overload, misinformation, and increased anxiety. Social media is a breeding ground for social comparison. And when we compare ourselves to people online, we generally feel worse. And it's not a fair comparison because you're only seeing someone's highlight reel. You should also avoid reading, watching, or listening to the news. Most news is bad news and gives a skewed perspective focusing on problems and disasters, which makes us exaggerate the likelihood of bad things happening. Seventh is distracting yourself. Sometimes some good old fashioned distraction can help. You'll probably have the best results if you engage in something that's particularly fun and interesting to you, that takes some mental focus, and it is in a new location. For example, you can go outside, go into another room, take a shower. Eighth is to learn to relax your body and mind. Overthinking can also be helped by increasing activities that will relax your mind and body, such as meditation, exercise, listening to soothing music, massage, using aromatherapy, and so forth. Ninth is to let go of perfectionism. In most cases, you don't need to make the perfect decision or be a perfect person. Good enough really is good enough. One of my favorite mantras is progress, not perfection, because it reminds me that I don't have to be perfect, I just have to keep learning. So, these were some of my favorite ways to tackle overthinking. You should try them yourselves, and I hope they help you too.